Have you ever looked at a spool of thread, a piece of purple fabric, and thought of the death penalty? Sounds crazy, right? Today, purple is the color of creativity, of sunset, of romance. But in the world of our ancestors, it was not a color. It was a declaration of absolute power. In ancient Rome, if you were a commoner, a tailor like us, and dared to wear a purple shirt, you would not only be fined, you could be considered a traitor and sentenced to death. A color worth more than a human life? Why? And how did our ancestors create such power? The answer will shock you, because it has nothing to do with flowers, but with thousands of deaths and a terrible stench. Back to Rome. Power here was clearly defined by clothing, and purple, or Tyrian purple to be exact, was the pinnacle of that system. Emperor was allowed to wear a toga picta.
This victory belongs not thus to the legions,
Senator
but to
was
every
allowed
citizen
only
who
one
sacrificed.
wide purple stripe, laticlavis, on his shirt. Commoner, absolutely not. This was not fashion. This was the sumptuary laws, the laws prohibiting luxury. It was the elite's way of shouting to the world, I rule. Purple became synonymous with royalty, with blue blood, with the gods themselves. It was so expensive,
But
it was
where
said
does
to
that
weigh as much as
purple come
pure
from?
gold. So how did they make it? When we think of ancient dyes, we usually think of plants, right? Did they grind a rare violet flower or a sparkling mineral? The truth wasn't so pretty. And here's the first surprising detail. The dye factories of Tyrian purple were always forced by law to be built on the outskirts of the city, miles away from the city. Can you guess why? Not because they wanted to keep it a secret, but because the dye factories stink unbearably. Tyrian purple doesn't come from plants. It comes from the mucus of a sea snail called murex. And here's the shocking number. To dye a handkerchief, you need 10,000 snails. To dye an emperor's robe, you need 250,000
10 days of boiling
snails.
decay.
Workers had to dive into the sea, collect tens of thousands of snails, crack open their shells, and extract a tiny mucus gland. Then, they salted the mucus and boiled it for 10 days straight. The stench from hundreds of thousands of snails being decomposed and boiled has been described as olfactory torture, a stench of dead fish and ammonia so strong it haunts the entire area. It is a dirty, expensive, and extremely hard work. Do you see the paradox here? How did something so stinking and disgusting become a symbol of nobility? And this is the genius twist of history, the core of power. It is precisely that expensiveness and disgust that is the reason it becomes powerful. Let's use the logic of a tailor to deduce.
The
1.
rarer it is,
Anyone can go
the
to the
higher
garden
the
to
power.
pick flowers. Yellow, red. The cost is almost 0. 2. Only the extremely rich can grind gems. Blue. The cost is high. 3. But who? Who could afford to hire a fleet of submarines, thousands of slaves, maintain a stinking factory with 250,000 snails? Just to dye a robe? Only the emperor? Only the mighty Roman state? Tyrian purple is not a symbol of beauty. It is a symbol of manufactured scarcity. When the emperor put on that robe, he was not saying, I am beautiful. He was shouting, I am so rich and powerful that I can afford to pay such an absurd and disgusting cost for a single color. Don't even think about challenging me. It was humanity's first great lesson in luxury branding. The power of thread is not in its color. The power is in the price you pay to obtain it. The history of sewing is amazing. From the asbestos stone fiber that defied the flames, to the purple thread woven from thousands of stinking deaths to consolidate power. Our ancestors used fabric not only to cover their bodies, but also to divide classes, to assert power, and even to kill. We have talked about minerals, stones. We have talked about animals, sea snails. But there is an interesting thing I have not had time to share today. There is another material empire, plants. And there is an ancient fabric, soft as silk, cool in the summer, warm in the winter, but banned, hunted, and considered evil plant for nearly a century. A plant that, just hearing the name, people think of criminals, even though our ancestors have worn it for thousands of years. And if you want to know why such a perfect fabric was destroyed, and the shocking truth behind the war against hemp, the following video will tell you. What do you think about the price of purple? Leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the journey to uncover the darkest secrets in our sewing history. See you soon.